Welcome to another episode of How to ABL. Today is Human Female Fracture Day, 8/28/2023. So I'll briefly talk about the rotation, and then I'll show you the character in action, and then we'll talk about additional information and options. So I'm going to be using Luna Snow today with a Rage. Basically, 5-4-3, and then you delay cancel 3 until ice starts dropping, and then everything else is pretty much spammable and can be canceled right away, including the 6. The 2 and 1 you want to spam as much as possible while you're waiting for the other skills to cool down. So let me go ahead and show you that in action, and I will point out the fact that it is better to tier 4 her, but I have her at tier 3, but we'll talk about that more after this example. So switch right away, 5-4-3, wait for a second, and then 1-2. Okay, I'm going to use that team up. I'm going to pop that 1 because it's ready. I'm going to pop that 2, 5-4-3, wait for a second, 6-1-2. Okay, I'm going to use that 1 as soon as he's targetable again. 5-4-3, 1, 2, 1. All right, he's about to jump, so we're going to give him a second. As soon as he lifts his sword, or actually as soon as he's targetable, I'm going to do 5-4-3, 6. And I'm going to do a 1-2 towards the end so I can get that cancel in there. The 2 is cancelable because you have that little green thumb up. So that causes fracture. So you actually don't need to necessarily have a striker, even if you have her at tier 4. Now, I do recommend getting her to tier 4 because she is just fantastic. This character with this uniform is literally just owning ABX and ABL. It's ridiculous how much of a power jump it is, and this is the clear meta for today. I do have a tier 4 Black Widow, and sadly, Luna does outscore Black Widow at tier 4, even with a Rage. So this is the team that I've switched to. Make sure you get your orbs, so if you see that purple light dropping, pick those up as soon as possible. Getting that Oath Force boost in the top right corner, that extra 150% damage, is very important, especially if you want to cap your score. Sometimes you'll see here skills are ready right away, or they're not ready right away. Try to stay up on top of those skills and use them as soon as possible. All right, let's grab that purple orb. Cool. You'll see sometimes I have my 6 ready before 3 or after 3, and it depends on how much I'm talking and how distracted I am. So the score can definitely go up higher, and actually turning down your graphics is advisable, so I probably will score a little bit more if I play this again with the graphics turned down. Let me grab that orb there, and then I'm going to pop my 6. I'm going to wait for a second until his sword's in the air before I pop that 3. As long as his sword's raised, that's usually the time to cancel, from what I've noticed. Okay, there's an orb dropping. Oh, we picked it up. It dropped on top of us. I like when the orb drops on top of you. We don't have to go hunting it, especially when you got this much animation and action going on the screen. It can be kind of hard to follow at times. Just try to look towards the top of the screen and watch out for that little beam of purple light that comes down. Like, here we go. There it is, right next to him. Cool, we're going to grab that. The Oath in the Force is active. All right, let's see how much we can wrap this up. Now, for those of you, again, if they're like, oh, this is such a low score for Luna. This is a tier 3 Luna. This is much higher than many tier 4 characters, not just Black Widow. I have other tier 4 characters that don't score this high on my account. Your build, which we'll talk about afterwards, does play a huge factor in how much you can score. So 6.3 million. Might be able to score a little bit higher if I would turn down the graphics, so I will do a rerun after this little quick clip that I'm doing. So 6302042. I like to track my scores so I can see my progress. Let's talk about my account, how I have my characters built, options you have, why I built the team I did, and all that good stuff. So if you're a veteran player and you're doing ABL, you probably know a lot of stuff, so I'll just give you a high-level overview. Here's my cards. I do not have 25% Pierce. That is going to play a huge factor here. So if you're not aware of that, 25% Pierce does make a huge difference in ABL. Here are my X swords. Your overall build with your cards and your X swords plays a factor in all your PvE modes. It's important to pay attention to them and to build them properly. Let's look at Luna. As I'd mentioned, my Luna Snow is not tier 4. Her uniform is the Summer Lilac. If you do not have the Summer Lilac, that is seasonal. It is worth getting. I know it is a paywall uniform, so some people might not get it. The uniform options for this are Blade Vampire Slayer, Colossus, Colossus Hellfire Gala, Doctor Strange, Marvel Studios' Avengers Infinity War, Thor, Marvel Studios' Avengers Endgame, and Carnage Fallen Soul. So not the best uniform options in the world, but if you've not seen them before, now you have. I have a rage on her. It is rolled to a 0.9%. That's important. Having critical rate and dodge rate both capped out is very important for using rages. She is worth a mighty or brilliant rage. I just haven't had a chance to reforge it yet. I'm going to wait till the chance up to do that. I do have her custom artifact here. It is only 3-star and it's at a +6. It is a tight match with the Justice Instinct, which would play a factor more when she is a tier 4. But it does increase cold damage by 20% of cold resist. Now that is higher the higher the artifact is, so definitely worth having and definitely helps with the score. I've got a POA on her as far as the ISO 8 set. As always, ISO 8 should always be 6-star in red, and you want one of the attack sets. POA, Power the Angry Hulk, Overdrive, or Hawkeyes. I prefer POA or Overdrive for most of my characters because my cooldown seems to be pretty good, and Hawkeyes is more for about the cooldown. But that'll be a separate video to dig into stuff like that. I've got her rank up to 5 for speed type enhancement. I have all of her skills maxed out to a degree. I mean, I can get them up to the tier 4 max out. I will eventually tier 4 her, so I've not done that yet, but I can go up another 4 levels. So right now they're all at 6. I do have everything amplified, and I have Odin's Blessings on her. All of her gear is at 25. If you're going to put Urus on, make sure you're doing at least 5-star Urus. All of mine are 6-star Urus. This is Luna Snow. You really should put a lot into her. If you like PvE, she's very PvE friendly. So energy attack, of course, is what she is. Here's her overall details. As you can see, I've capped attack speed, crit rate, crit damage, ignore defense, cooldown, movement speed, and dodge. I think all of those that are overcapped are important, besides her movement speed is not as critical, but it is helpful as well. She's sitting at 63% energy attack. Now, something I want to point out here, because we're going to talk about team up next and why I'm using the team that I'm using, she has what's called leadership. If you do not have the ability leadership, White Fox does nothing for you. So let's talk about the team I'm using. I'm going to go over here to co-op, giant boss. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not co-op. I apologize. Challenges, arena. There we go. Figured it out eventually. So I have White Fox in the team. So the important thing to remember with White Fox has these passive skills. This one right here applies to allies with leadership. That leadership that I showed you, that shield icon and abilities, if you don't have that, this ability doesn't do anything for them, and that kind of defeats the purpose of having White Fox, period. White Fox has one of the best abilities in the game, Damage Dealt. Damage Dealt is better to overall damage because it's what actually gets through. So 65% increase just by having her on the team. So this is why you have White Fox. I don't think her other passive helps out others. Actually, this does apply to enemies. So when attacking, it does this extra bleed. So it looks like that applies to enemies. I don't know if it's... Off the top of my head, I'm not really sure if these apply unless it's for her, because it does say applies to enemies, so it should work for any ally. A little bit confusing here, but the main reason you do it is for this passive. Now, her uniform, I don't think gives any additional uniform effects. It actually does. So this all applies to superhero allies. So increase all basic attacks by 15, chain hit damage by 10, and ignore dodge rate by 30%. This is why I double check even when I'm doing videos. So this is with her Lifestyle Series 2. Even if you don't have the uniform, so you don't get those bonuses, this here, if I equip this really quick and come back, she still has a very nice passive. She still does the 60. So she gets an extra 5% by having the uniform. So it is important to have the uniform. Just to show you the different ones in case you have this one as well, we will go ahead and show you that passive skill again, 60%, so it doesn't increase that much. And then go ahead over here, go to the uniform effects. This is for all allies with leadership. It does do 10% in immunity to fear. So, I mean, all of them are kind of nice to have, but this Lifestyle 2 is the one you want if you can afford to get that uniform. So either way, she is a good character, a great character, in fact, and insight worthy. So if you have an insight, White Fox is a great one to give it to. Now, the next character I have, of course, is She-Hulk. The main reason to use She-Hulk here is all allies get an increase of damage dealt. Again, that damage dealt to male characters. Surtur is considered a male character, so there you go. 65% increase. Also, just a little note, it looks like the Snow Beast is considered a male character as well. So she will work basically for ABX and ABL leadership. She is decent. Actually, she's kind of meta, especially with the swap for the Combat Female Day. So this is the team that I recommend using for today. She-Hulk's leadership, White Fox. Now, She-Hulk is running with the Marvel Studios She-Hulk Attorney at Law. That's not as important because, again, even when you take her uniform off, she still has a great leadership going on here. So if you go with no uniform whatsoever, her leadership will drop down to 48% for males. But it's still I mean, it's still something, right? It's still that damage dealt, so it's still worth considering. But yeah, the She-Hulk Attorney at Law gives it that 65%, so that's the main reason that you would have her on the team. Alternates. So who else would you use if you don't have Luna Snow? Well, of course, like I said, get Luna Snow to tier 4, but even if she's tier 3, she is phenomenal here. Sharon Rogers, even though she's a great character, she's absolutely terrible in my opinion for ABX and ABL. I would avoid using her. Long time ago, Crescent was worth using too. Kamala Khan's pretty decent. Not great, but decent. Shuri is actually pretty decent, but better as a support in my opinion. So the ones that I would actually consider if you don't have Luna, or you don't have... Actually, you know, I will point this out really quick before we talk about alternatives. If you do not have this uniform, but you have the Light Sirius armor, if you tier 4 her, she's still worth using. Her tier 4 is really that good that even without Summer Lilac, the Light Sirius armor is a worthy contender. Lifestyle Series 1 is not terrible, and honestly, Light Sirius and Lifestyle Series 1 are very close. The Andromeda suit is where it starts dropping, and I don't know how it compares to the current contenders for ABL. But yeah, if you have Light Sirius or Lifestyle Series 1 and you tier 4 her, go ahead and use her for today, especially if you have this team up. All right. Shadow Shell. Shadow Shell tier 4 is not horrific. She is better at World Boss Legendary, but she can do some damage here, some pretty good damage, in fact. So I would consider using Shadow Shell if she's a tier 4, if you already have her built. Obviously, build Luna if not. Gwenpool. Gwenpool is a wonderful contender too, and I would actually put Gwenpool in a rank above Shadow Shell. Black Widow. Unfortunately, Black Widow is at the bottom of the list here. I do have her tier 4, like I said, but I would use Shadow Shell or Gwenpool above her. She would be at the bottom of that list. And then right above right below Gwenpool. I think Gwenpool... Now, I don't know why I'm calling her Gwenpool. It's Spider-Gwen. It's been one of those days. Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse uniform. If you have that uniform and Shadow Shell's Moon Temple Defenders, I need to be more clear here. And Black Widow's Golden Gate Vigilante. So, yeah, it would be Spider-Gwen, Shadow Shell, and then Black Widow. But above them and competing with Spider-Gwen would be Gamora. Where's Gamora hiding? Oh, she's not human. So yeah, Gamora's not even on this list. I apologize. As far as meta speed characters go, she's someone else to consider. Now, who else can you use for leadership? Who else can you use for support? Shuri's a great support character, but White Fox is better. Leadership-wise, surprisingly enough, Ancient One has not only a decent leadership for energy characters, but she also has this boost, or he, depending if you have the uniform or not, of increased damage to all elemental damage by 40%. So A1 is a considerate leader, like you might be able to use Ancient One, She-Hulk Force being better, and then you can also use, even though now you're really dipping here, you can get a 30% energy increase by using Spectrum. She's not really that great of a leader, but if you have no one else, Wave is a pretty decent leader because not only does she give the 25%, but she also has the passive that does that damage dealt increase by 50%. Now again, 50% versus 65, so go with She-Hulk if you have the Attorney at Law. But if you don't have the Attorney at Law uniform, I would maybe consider. I mean, you still get a 60% from She-Hulk, so it's probably still better to go with She-Hulk, but someone to consider. Let's see, who else? Misty Knight has a pretty decent bonus specifically for Luna Snow of 60% cold damage, but this is damage, not damage dealt, so She-Hulk is still much better. And then you also have Maya Lopez, even though I feel like she's more oriented towards PvP content. She does do a 60% increase as well, so I mean that's still a consideration that you can put into that leadership role. So those are some of the options and things to consider. But like I said, ultimately at the end of the day, this is the meta team for today, even if you only have Luna at tier 3. So hopefully that was informative. If you found that helpful at all, consider a thumb up and commenting because it helps the algorithm. And as a little bit of bonus content, we'll go ahead and do one more run by turning the graphics down to very low and see how much of a factor that plays in to my overall score. And then after that, we'll wrap up the video for today. This is why I try to preload before we actually play, so you don't have to sit through the loading screens. All right, bonus content, switching to Luna, and we're going to focus on playing now, a little less chat than we had earlier. You'll see here with the less animations that you can pull off your skills a little bit quicker, which is why I think this will increase your score. And from experimenting, I've noticed that it usually does increase the score a bit. Grab that orb. I am going to wait here for a second till he raises his sword, and then I'm going to pop that too, so that I can get the fracture cancel. Don't worry about her procs. It's really more of a nightmare if you try to focus on her procs. It's more important to focus on charging up her skills and popping them off as quickly as possible. If you have trouble seeing with the graphics turned down, how long to wait for the 3, I usually wait roughly 1 second, and that's usually enough for the ice to fall. I think I'm canceling it a little bit fast here. Since this is my second run, I'm probably speeding through it a little bit, but we'll still make it work. Alright, you're going to jump center again. As soon as he's targetable, I'm going to go right into my 5-4-3. Use my 6-1. There's a sword raise, so I can pop my 2. There's the cancel. Ooh. 2's not going off. Alright, let's get that last orb here. Get into the last... Oh, no, that's not the last orb. That's the second to last orb. We got a little bit more time. Cool. Here we go. Last orb. Make sure we get this pop. Now, with spam characters, you're going to have kind of a random score anyway. So even though I think it's pretty clear, yeah, we're going to beat that score. Even though it's pretty clear we're going to beat that score, you're still going to get some randomness, but look at how much of a difference this is making compared to that 6.3. All right, even as a tier 3 character, we got 3 seconds left. We might actually be able to hit 7 million. So I really do... Nah, we went 6.8. That's fine. That's like a 500,000 increase. So again, really consider turning down your graphics, especially if you have some sort of like an emulator like I've got where you're playing on your computer, or if you're playing on your phone has some lag. If there's lags or a lot of animations going on with characters like Luna Snow or Jean Grey, it is going to impact your score. So highly recommend turning it down. Just try it, do a comparison. Maybe you'll score more. But anyway, thanks for watching, and may your ABL scores be as high as possible.